Action, comedy, and unforgettable chemistry. That's what Rush Hour gave us. But time spares no one, not even Hollywood stars. After 25 years, some reached incredible heights, others fell into tragedy, and a few simply vanished from the spotlight. You won't believe how much they've changed. Let's find out. Chris Tucker as Detective James Carter. Loud, fast-talking, impossible to ignore. Detective Carter in Rush Hour was everything Chris Tucker already was in real life. Larger than life, hilarious, and unpredictable. At just 27 years old in 1998, Tucker went from cult favorite in Friday, 1995, to one of the highest-paid actors in Hollywood. By the time Rush Hour 2 came around, he was commanding $20 million a film, numbers usually reserved for Tom Cruise. But fame can be cruel. Tucker's lifestyle couldn't keep up with the checks. Private jets, mansions, luxury cars. He burned through it all. By the late 2000s, the IRS came knocking with a $14 million tax bill. His fall from the top was brutal. Houses repossessed, his name dragged through headlines as another Hollywood star who couldn't manage success. The pressure of being the funny guy everywhere he went didn't help. Tucker admitted he felt trapped, unable to live up to the non-stop comedy people expected. He retreated, walking away from Hollywood at the height of his fame. Instead, he turned to his Christian faith, stand-up comedy, and quieter stages where the spotlight didn't burn so hot. He tried to rebuild with small but respected roles, like appearing in Silver Linings Playbook, 2012. But the Chris Tucker who once made history as the highest-paid comedian in film never quite reclaimed that same peak. Chris Tucker played Detective James Carter in Rush Hour, 1998, when he was 27 years old. Now, he is 54 years old, still performing stand-up, living a simpler life, and has an estimated net worth of around $5 million. Tom Wilkinson as Thomas Griffin and Juntao. Remember that chilling villain in Rush Hour? The charming diplomat who turned out to be the ruthless Juntao. That was Tom Wilkinson. But behind the smooth voice and brilliant performance, Wilkinson's career was marked by struggles far deeper than the roles he played. He wasn't born into privilege. Growing up in post-war England with little money, he clawed his way into acting through grit alone. The theater became his escape, but the pressure to succeed never left him. For years, he took small, thankless roles while watching peers rise faster. It wasn't until The Full Monty in 1997 that his talent was finally recognized with a BAFTA. Success, however, didn't erase the pain. His marriage to actress Diana Hardcastle was loving, but they endured heartbreak after heartbreak, losing a child to miscarriage, and later other family tragedies that nearly pushed him into giving up acting altogether. Even while starring in the Bedroom and Michael Clayton, both earning him Oscar nominations, Wilkinson battled depression behind the curtain. He poured himself into his work, playing Benjamin Franklin in John Adams, Carmine Falcone in Batman Begins, and countless other roles that proved his range. Yet the intensity took a toll on his health. Years of smoking, stress, and pushing himself through long shoots wore down his body. Tom Wilkinson played Thomas Griffin, secretly Juntao, in Rush Hour, 1998, when he was 50 years old. He passed away in 2023 at age 75 from cardiac arrest, leaving behind a career of brilliance, tragedy, and an estimated net worth of $12 million. Jackie Chan as Inspector Lee. You think success comes easy when the world calls you a legend? For Jackie Chan, the truth was the opposite. By the time Rush Hour made him a global star in 1998, he was already 44 and carrying more broken bones than most stunt doubles retire with. Hollywood saw the smile, the acrobatics, the charm, but they didn't see the nights he couldn't sleep because of pain. His career in Asia was already legendary, with Drunken Master and Police Story making him a household name. But trying to break into America was brutal. Early films like The Protector flopped, leaving him humiliated and questioning whether the West would ever accept his style. It wasn't until Rumble in the Bronx cracked open the door, and then Rush Hour blew it wide open, that Jackie finally conquered Hollywood. But the cost was heavy. In 1986, during Armor of God, he fell from a tree and fractured his skull so badly, he nearly died. In 2002, on the Medallion, a mistimed stunt left him with a broken ankle and back injuries. He once said, "Every part of my body has been injured." The laughter on screen hid a man whose body was paying the price. Even success didn't quiet the storms. Scandals followed. His admitted infidelity in 1999 nearly destroyed his family, and years later, his son JC's drug arrest left him ashamed as a father. Jackie confessed he drowned himself in work to escape personal failures, and those choices haunted him. Jackie Chan played Inspector Lee in Rush Hour, 1998, when he was 44 years old. Today, he is 71 years old, still active in film and charity, and holds a net worth of around $400 million. Chris Penn as Clive Codd. You might not remember Clive Codd from Rush Hour, a supporting role at best, but Chris Penn, the man behind the character, carried a Hollywood name with him everywhere he went. As the younger brother of Sean Penn, Chris was always talented, always in the business, but forever overshadowed. His career highlights showed flashes of brilliance. Reservoir Dogs, 1992, cemented him as a gritty character actor, the kind of presence that could steal a scene without even trying. But behind those performances, Penn was fighting demons that were far harder to control than any role. Drugs and alcohol became his escape. Arrested for drunk driving in 1997, he spiraled further into addiction, mixing cocaine and prescription pills. His weight ballooned to over 300 pounds, fueling severe heart problems. Hollywood noticed his talent, but it also noticed the chaos. Leading roles never came, only smaller parts, and even those became harder to land. In January 2006, just 40 years old, Chris Penn was found dead at home. The coroner's report was blunt: an enlarged heart, worsened by years of substance abuse. Cocaine and medication lingered in his system. For a man who once stood alongside Quentin Tarantino's best, the ending was devastatingly quiet. Chris Penn played Clive Codd in Rush Hour, 1998, when he was 33 years old. He died in 2006 at just 40, leaving behind a net worth of around $1 million and a legacy remembered as both gifted and tragically wasted. Elizabeth Pena as Detective Tanya Johnson. Let me tell you, Elizabeth Pena had a fire that could light up any screen. In Rush Hour, she held her own as Detective Tanya Johnson, standing firm beside Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. But off-screen, she was fighting a much harder battle, an industry that rarely gave Latina women the respect or roles they deserved. Her breakthrough in La Bamba proved she could bring heart and power to a story, yet Hollywood often tried to box her in with shallow, stereotypical parts. Pena wasn't one to sit quietly and accept it. She pushed back, carving her own path and even becoming one of the first Latina members of the Directors Guild of America. It was a bold move, but it came with endless rejection and uphill fights. The weight of it all took its toll. By her 40s, the frustration and pain of being typecast gnawed at her. Alcohol became her escape, a way to silence the disappointment, even as it quietly destroyed her health. The very industry she gave her life to never fully embraced her the way it should have. Still, Elizabeth never stopped working. She brought warmth and authority to The Incredibles as the voice of Mirage, and she found steady television roles that kept her in the spotlight. But privately, she was exhausted. The constant fight to be taken seriously had drained her spirit, and her body was paying the ultimate price. Elizabeth Pena played Detective Tanya Johnson in Rush Hour, 1998, when she was 39 years old. She died in 2014 at the age of 55 from complications of alcohol-related illness, leaving behind a net worth of about $2 million and a legacy as a trailblazer who fought for Latina representation, but bore the heartbreak of that struggle until the end. Tzi Ma as Consul Solon Han. You ever notice how some actors never get the parts they deserve? That was Tzi Ma's reality for decades. When he appeared in Rush Hour as Consul Han, the powerful diplomat and father at the center of the story, Hollywood still only saw him as the Asian guy, not as a leading man with depth, range, and years of craft behind him. Back in the 90s, breaking into mainstream film was like running into a wall over and over. No matter how polished his performances were, casting directors kept offering him roles that were one-dimensional: gangsters, faceless villains, or quiet side characters who barely had a voice. Even after turning heads in The Quiet American and later earning praise in Arrival, the message from the industry never seemed to change. He could appear, but never lead. That cycle of rejection wore him down. By his early 40s, Tzi Ma admitted he sank into depression, questioning whether a lifetime spent pursuing acting had been worth it. It wasn't about the paycheck, he was working, but the lack of recognition, the feeling of being treated as an afterthought, stripped away the dignity that every artist craves. There were glimmers of light. His recurring role in 24 gave him stability and respect, while Denis Villeneuve's Arrival proved he could hold his own in a major Hollywood production. Those moments reminded him he still had something to give, even if the industry often chose not to see it. Yet, as he has said, the scars of being overlooked never completely heal. Tzi Ma played Consul Solon Han in Rush Hour 1998 when he was 36 years old. In 2025, he is 63, living quietly in California, guiding younger Asian actors toward opportunities he never had, and holding an estimated net worth of $3 million. Ken Leung as Sang. You remember Sang, the cold assassin in Rush Hour who barely needed words to terrify? That was Ken Leung's breakout on the big screen, but the truth is his road in Hollywood was anything but easy. Born in New York in 1970, Leung often found himself trapped in the same struggle as other Asian American actors. Hollywood rarely offered roles beyond henchmen, tech guys, or villains. Even when he impressed in AI, artificial intelligence, and later X-Men: The Last Stand, he knew those parts were limited by the industry's imagination, not his talent. The frustration took a toll on his mental health. He admitted privately that the constant typecasting and lack of opportunity pushed him into long bouts of self-doubt. Unlike many colleagues, he never married for years, believing he couldn't balance family with the instability of acting. Still, Leung found ways to shine. His role as Miles Strom in Lost gave him a global fan base, and later he reinvented himself in HBO's industry as Eric Tao, a ruthless banker, a part that finally let him break free from cliché casting. These highlights proved he could do more, but they didn't erase the years of struggle. Ken Leung played Sang in Rush Hour 1998 when he was 28 years old. Now, he is 55 years old, living in New York, balancing indie films with mentoring young actors, and has a net worth of about $2 million. Philip Baker Hall as Captain William D.L. Ever notice how some actors seem to appear in everything, yet never get the recognition they deserve? That was Philip Baker Hall. When he played Captain D.L. in Rush Hour, he was already in his late 60s and had spent decades clawing for respect in Hollywood. Hall's collaborations with Paul Thomas Anderson, Hard Eight, Boogie Nights, and Magnolia finally gave him critical acclaim, but by then he was a veteran still struggling to escape being just a character actor. The industry often overlooked his brilliance, even after unforgettable turns in The Truman Show and The Insider. His career was long, but so was the pain that came with it. Years of smoking left him with emphysema in old age. Friends said his later years were marked by illness, loneliness, and the grief of outliving many peers and even his first marriage. Still, Hall never stopped working. He took roles in Zodiac, Argo, and even comedies like Bruce Almighty, pushing through declining health just to stay on set. Acting wasn't just a job for him, it was survival, a way to fight the silence of his private life. Philip Baker Hall played Captain William Deal in Rush Hour 1998 when he was 67 years old. He passed away in 2022 at age 90 from emphysema, leaving behind a net worth of about $1.5 million and a legacy as one of Hollywood's most respected but underappreciated actors. Roselyn Sanchez as Isabella Molina. You might think beauty guarantees success in Hollywood, but for Roselyn Sanchez, it was almost a curse. When she appeared in Rush Hour 2 as Isabella Molina, audiences saw glamour. What they didn't see was the struggle of a Puerto Rican actress constantly fighting typecasting. After Boat Trip and later The Game Plan, Sanchez realized the industry had already decided what roles she should play. Seductive women, supporting parts, rarely leads. Even Devious Maids, her biggest TV hit, came with criticism that it reinforced stereotypes, and the pressure weighed heavily on her. Her body turned against her, too. Years of battling endometriosis and ovarian cysts left her in pain and shattered her hopes of having children naturally. IVF treatments, miscarriages, and invasive surgeries became part of her life while she was still expected to smile on red carpets. Her first marriage collapsed in 2001, another heartbreak stacked on top of career frustration. Later, with Eric Winter, she endured endless rounds of fertility treatments before finally having 2 children. She's spoken openly about that battle, but at the time it was years of silence, grief, and pressure to keep working as though nothing was wrong. Roselyn Sanchez played Isabella Molina in Rush Hour 2, 2001, when she was 28 years old. In 2025, she is 52, still acting and producing, living in Los Angeles, and has an estimated net worth of about $14 million. Max von Sydow as Vang Reynard. Not every legendary career is free of pain. Max von Sydow, who appeared as Reynard in Rush Hour 3, was one of cinema's greats, yet his life behind the camera carried loneliness and loss that no award could fix. He began in Sweden with Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal, instantly iconic, but once he moved into Hollywood, the struggle began. Even after The Exorcist and Minority Report, he was often miscast as villains or cold old men. The frustration of being reduced to cliches haunted him for decades. The longer he worked, the more friends he buried. Ingmar Bergman, his closest collaborator, passed away, leaving von Sydow adrift. He admitted to feeling isolated in his later years, living quietly in France, far from the spotlight that once celebrated him. Even as his health failed, he kept pushing. At nearly 80, he joined Game of Thrones as the Three-Eyed Raven, earning an Emmy nomination. But behind the recognition was a man fighting emphysema and the sadness of outliving so many peers. Max von Sydow played Vang Reynard in Rush Hour 3, 2007, when he was 78 years old. He died in 2020 at age 90 in France, leaving behind an estimated net worth of $16 million and a legacy both brilliant and bittersweet. Zhang Ziyi as Hu Li. Think global fame solves everything? For Zhang Ziyi, it only created new battles. After Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon made her an international star, Hollywood offered her roles, but most were stereotypes, and she had to fight hard to prove she was more than a martial arts heroine. Her Hollywood debut in Rush Hour 2 gave her visibility, but critics quickly labeled her as the exotic villain. Then came Memoirs of a Geisha, which brought Western acclaim but sparked controversy back home in China, where many accused her of betraying national pride. That backlash left her torn between 2 worlds. The pressure broke her at times. By the mid-2000s, she took a long hiatus, admitting to mental health struggles and the trauma of constant scrutiny. In 2016, she faced another heartbreak, a miscarriage that added personal pain to professional exhaustion. Even so, Zhang kept returning with strength. Her roles in House of Flying Daggers and The Grandmaster earned her dozens of awards and respect as one of Asia's most talented actresses. But behind every red carpet smile was a woman carrying years of criticism, health struggles, and the loneliness of public life. Zhang Ziyi played Hu Li in Rush Hour 2, 2001, when she was 22 years old. As of 2025, she is 46, still acting and directing, and has an estimated net worth of about $100 million. Alan King as Stephen Rain. Alan King could make audiences laugh, but behind the comedy was a lifetime of pain. By the time he appeared as billionaire Stephen Rain in Rush Hour 2, he was already a veteran, carrying decades of personal tragedy and professional struggle. His career in stand-up comedy brought him fame, but it came at a cost. He lost a child to leukemia, a heartbreak that never left him. Even as he worked with stars like Martin Scorsese in Casino, the grief weighed on him every day. Cancer struck him later in life. A heavy cigar smoker, King was diagnosed with lung cancer, and the disease followed him onto sets. He kept performing, on stage, in films, in television specials, but each show was a fight against a body that was failing him. For a man who made millions laugh, the irony was bitter. His career was built on humor, yet his private life was marked by sickness, sorrow, and the kind of battles that can't be joked away. Alan King played Stephen Rain in Rush Hour 2, 2001, when he was 74 years old. He died in 2004 at age 76 from lung cancer, leaving behind a net worth of about $10 million and a legacy of comedy shaped by pain as much as laughter. Julia Shu as Soo Young-han, Young. You remember her, the innocent little girl kidnapped in Rush Hour. Julia Shu was just 12 years old when she brought Soo Young-han to life, and for many viewers, that role became unforgettable. But while the film became a worldwide hit, Julia's story didn't follow the same glittering path as her co-stars. For a young Asian actress in late 90s Hollywood, the roles were painfully limited. After a short appearance in the independent short 3 Exits, she found herself pushed to the sidelines. Casting directors weren't interested, and Julia began to see acting less as a dream and more as a door closing in her face. The industry that had once given her a breakthrough simply turned its back. Her personal life carried its own tragedy. At just 20 years old, Julia's mother passed away suddenly. That loss came during a time when she was already questioning her identity and career. Instead of red carpets, she faced grief, isolation, and the painful realization that her family would never be the same. Julia reinvented herself outside of Hollywood. She pursued studies at USC and later earned her MBA from UCLA, building a quieter career in media and technology. She chose stability over fame, but there was always that lingering thought of what her career might have looked like if the roles had been there for her. Julia Shu played Soo Young-han in Rush Hour, 1998, when she was 12 years old. As of 2025, she is 39, living a private life in Los Angeles, and has an estimated net worth of about $500,000. Hiroyuki Sanada as Kenji. Some actors earn fame by chance. Hiroyuki Sanada earned his through pain. By the time he played Kenji in Rush Hour 3, he had already endured decades of sacrifice to prove himself, both in Japan and internationally. His career wasn't just built on talent, it was built on bruises, exhaustion, and relentless pressure. Trained from childhood under martial arts icon Sonny Chiba, Sanada became famous in Japanese cinema through punishing physical roles. Films like The Twilight Samurai and The Last Samurai brought him critical acclaim, but behind those graceful fight scenes were broken bones, pulled muscles, and a body pushed to its limit. Even as his reputation grew, he carried the quiet torment of never being allowed to stop. In 2010, Sanada's health nearly collapsed. A severe kidney problem forced him to reconsider everything: his lifestyle, his future, even whether he could continue acting. For a man who had built his life around his body and discipline, the thought of weakness was devastating. Depression followed, and for a time, he pulled back from the industry that had both made and broken him. But his resilience became his legacy. Hollywood welcomed him in projects like The Wolverine, 47 Ronin, and HBO's Westworld. Then, in 2024, came Shogun. His portrayal of Toranaga earned him global praise and awards, finally giving him the recognition he had been denied for so long. Still, every achievement came with the memory of what it cost. Hiroyuki Sanada played Kenji in Rush Hour 3, 2007, when he was 47 years old. As of 2025, he is 65, still acting across Hollywood and Japan, and has an estimated net worth of about $10 million. Jingchu Zhang as Su Young-han, adult. Not every actor who makes it to Hollywood finds it easy to stay there. Jingchu Zhang's story is proof of how heavy the cost of fame can be, even when success seems certain. She stepped into Rush Hour 3 as the adult Su Young-han, bringing elegance and strength to the role. But behind her quiet beauty was a life marked by relentless pressure. Born in rural Fujian, China, Jingchu didn't grow up with privilege. She fought her way through the Central Academy of Drama, where competition was brutal and opportunities scarce. Her breakthrough came with Chinese dramas that earned her recognition at home, but international fame added a different kind of weight. Suddenly, every move she made was judged, every role criticized, and the gap between expectation and reality grew wider. In 2005, Time magazine named her Best Actress of the Year. It should have been the beginning of a golden career. Instead, the title brought crushing pressure. Jingchu has spoken about struggling with depression, feeling overwhelmed by the demand to be flawless while privately breaking apart. While films like Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation showed her potential on the global stage, the emotional toll left scars that no award could heal. Her personal battles were compounded by loneliness. She avoided marriage for years, throwing herself into work but quietly confessing that the spotlight never filled the emptiness. Despite brand endorsements and high-profile projects, she sometimes retreated from the screen, choosing recovery over relentless pursuit of stardom. Fans often wondered why she disappeared at her peak. Few knew the weight she was carrying. Jingchu Zhang played the adult Su Young-han in Rush Hour 3, 2007, when she was 27 years old. As of 2025, she is 45, still acting selectively, living with a net worth estimated at $20 million, and carrying the quiet resilience of someone who has survived both fame and its darkest shadows. From fame to tragedy, every journey told a different story. But whose change surprised you the most? Share your thoughts below and hit that subscribe button so you never miss the next reveal.